Hey everybody. I felt really suicidal last night in the middle of the night. I woke up. I had taken lemon balm the night before, or before bed. I don't know if that had something to do with it. And I also took taurine and NAC and lion's mane. I don't know if any of that had to do with it, but I had like this strong, just suicidal feeling. And it took me a while to realize, wait, I'm feeling suicidal. And then I kind of realized that it could be because of the things that I was taking. But I've never felt that strong of like a suicidal feeling, and it really sucks. It's weird because I don't know what I lacked. It wasn't like. It was a weird one, actually, because I don't remember feeling like. I felt bad, but I didn't feel. I don't know. It just felt like I was like a logical thing. Like my brain was just like going to those ideas, and it didn't really make sense. Like it didn't make much sense. So um, I kind of realized like I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird that I felt that like that strongly after, and it was because I mean, I think it was to do with the fact that I took some of these supplements. I'm not sure if those were the complete cause or part of it, but yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I told my mom about it, and she was really good about it. Um, she said I could call her anytime, and you know, she was saying it's like an attack from the devil or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think that um, it's people feel suicidal when they want their pain to end. If they didn't have pain, like they probably wouldn't. They would just be fine with living, right? It's usually when people are despairing. That is, they've been in pain for so long that they're like, how do I make this end? So they're desperate and despairing. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a sad thing. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I actually had a crummy day today in a lot of ways. My social anxiety was a little better. Um, from I think from the lemon balm, but I think that emotionally, it's weird. Social anxiety may have decreased a bit, but emotionally and everything, I still don't feel like I'm great. Like, you know, I don't feel excellent. And I felt really lonely today. And yeah, but I also felt pretty horrible just in general, like mood wise, and thinking about like what was going on today, and thinking about like just how I felt terrible about my life here in this small town, and how my job really fell through, and I just have been under so much mental and emotional unwellness for so long since I've been out here. Really, I it's weird. I was not this bad. I'm I'm trying to think if I was this bad. I don't think I was this bad before. Like felt this bad. I know I was certainly hiding things before. Like I would hide how I really felt before, and I wouldn't ever have a ability to put a complete finger on it. I knew it had to do with you know, sexual shame. I knew it had to do with trauma. I knew it had to do with anger toward my family and my parents due to trauma growing up, poverty and neglect from my parents, and just dealing with like mentally ill parents and narcissistic house, and constant screaming and fighting and all those things, right? From a very young age, all the way through to when I grew up and left. But I would never be able to like say those things before. Now I care a little bit less. Like, I'm making these videos, but honestly no one cares about these videos. Nobody really cares. Like, I think some people click on them and skip through them, but I don't think anyone really cares. And that's fine. It's really more of a way for me to vent than anything. And yeah, but I just feel lonely, like super lonely throughout most of my life, to be honest. And I think like it's weird, like if I could talk about the loneliness, like the loneliness is like really painful. And I think it's, it's got to do with like the sexual shame and trauma. And like I'm always thinking about women. It's weird. Like, and I favor talking to women. I don't mind men, but I'm always like checking out women. And I'm not even really trying to do this anymore. Like, I think because I grew up so lustful, like that's what that is. That's lust, right? That's really putting your desire on someone else's body, on someone else's like flesh, so that it can benefit you. That's lust, right? For me, it's always been that, and it's always been like so that I could feel good, through fantasy, imagination, masturbation, through just doing that. And it's like that's been like a really lonely thing for me. And for a long time it was like doable and sustainable in a way. It was kind of like running a car into the ground, you're not really maintaining it. You're just yeah, it's just, it's long term unhealthy, right? And anyway, it's just it's really horrible. And I think it stems a lot from just shame in general, and not being shown like what loving interactions are, and never being talked to about it. No one ever talked to me. My mom basically scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, telling me about sex when I was like 4 or 5 years old, 5 years old probably. And then I stumbled across pornography when I was 5 years old. And actually, recently I came across a video of this guy. I think it was the Soft White Underbelly. He's a YouTube channel that interviews people. And he had a pornography addict on there. And it was a young man in his 20s, it seemed. And he said that he was exposed to pornography when he was 4. So weirdly, that made me feel less alone, because I totally relate, to this other guy. And I totally relate to the addiction aspect. And I didn't actually watch the whole video or anything. My attention span has just been really crummy lately, even though I'm on Vyvanse and all this stuff for ADHD. But my mental state and my cognition and my focus is just terrible. But anyway, so this other young man, he was talking about his pornography addiction. And actually, I've come across quite a few. If you look for it, you can find it. There's a lot of people that talk about NoFap and quitting pornography and how bad pornography is. And it's just like a huge thing, actually. That's not really talked about a whole lot among people regularly. But it's the truth that a lot of people use pornography. Like, I've seen figures that said like 78% of men, something like 30% of women. I've seen up to like 95% of men on some stats use pornography. And so it's like really common. And actually, if you watch like, I was watching like videos, I watch a lot of YouTube, but I was watching videos of, I think it was like a dating show, and you can find this a lot actually. It'll be people, they'll be talking about like how they have foursomes or how they have like 17 body count and they're like 20 years old, or like there's a lot of people that is just very you know, sexually immoral culture. And I was a part of it. I know what it's like. Come on, I know what it's like. It's like easy to understand. It's based on desire and attraction for physical a lot, and then there's kind of like a game that's played, I guess. It could be considered a game. A lot of people think of it as a game, especially men, but even women think about it as a game. And it's just like the dating game, and you kind of like go back and forth on text. You look at each other's pictures. Actually, I would say that looking at each other's pictures is like one of the main thing. And a lot of people are looking at multiple people's pictures, you know, through dating apps, Instagram. I never really talk to people on Instagram, but other apps. I used to find people to date on like a mental health app. That's crazy, right? But it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people on there, even women, looking for people to date. And it's just like, it's based on pictures, and then it's like texting and flirting and like, and then it just like, I don't know, it's like, then it kind of goes to whatever conclusion it's going to go to. And for a lot of people like me, it was never like a satisfying conclusion if you're just looking at it for sexual gratification. It's just about like getting off. It's about getting your rocks off, basically, to put it in the ugly truth that it is. That's what it's about. And basically, like, that's what a lot of these young people are doing. And it's like culminates in like hookups. It culminates in pregnancies where the child is aborted or doesn't have like both parents, you know, loving parents in a loving union, which is what happened in my case, which I still, you know, I haven't even really dealt with that properly. Never been able to deal with it. I have had opportunity to deal with it better, but I've been afraid to tell my family, you know. Is this kind of something that's been buried? And like, I tried to deal with it on my own, but I'm so bad at asking for help because I'm so embarrassed. I was never able to really ask for help, right? I tried to talk to the social workers. I tried to talk to the mom to get like a joint custody or something, just to be in my daughter's life, but and try to be in some way a good force, you know what I mean? And the mom like freaked out on me. She got her boss to threaten to call the cops on me. She like told me on the phone that she was doing meth and she was crazy. She's like, I'm fucking crazy, I'm doing meth. And I was like, like, I literally didn't even know how to respond to this. And, yeah, she just, like, basically just pulled a hideaway type of move. But I guess this, I'm not innocent. I'm guilty as well. Like, but the thing is that when there's children involved, like, the adults have to kind of take responsibility for the situation as it is and see it in a way that could improve the kid's future, for the good of the child, right? That's what it's about. That's what it's really about. But anyway, so yeah, I really struggle with the loneliness lifelong. It's a lifelong struggle. Lifelong. And God knows. God knows everything. If you're hiding something, God knows. He knows. So God knows. And, praise be to God, because he still loves me. He's still with me. He's still with you, and he's with everybody. The only thing that can make him not be with you is if you tell him to go away and you push him away. That's why you have to open up your heart to God and feel his love and I have been opening my heart up to him more and more and more and more. And I try and do it every week. I've been going to church for like 2 years already. Ever since I did all those mushrooms. I did all those mushrooms because I was trying to heal my trauma and everything. But it was stupid because I didn't really know at the time. But when you do psychedelics, it brings up attachment issues. Okay? So just a heads up for anybody. Psychedelics actually brings up attachment issues. And attachment is just your relationships. And it's basically, it is basically a trend from when a trend starting with your relationship with your parents, or your primary caregivers, as they're called, your primary attachment figure. And so it brings that up, basically, those wounds. So I basically did it wrong. I don't know if you could really say there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but a lot of people say, like, there's no such thing as a bad trip, but basically, with my intention, I did it wrong because I was trying to heal on my own. I was trying to do everything by myself, And actually, I got a vision of my future, and like this fear that was just inescapable was that I was like psychotic. And it kind of came true in a way, really. And that sucks. That was the scariest thing ever. But really, it was the psychotic thing, but also just the main fear behind it was being alone. And that fear is one that came from when I was a kid, of basically not having my parents there for me and being alone. I used to hide myself in small spaces, and I used to play imaginary games by myself, and I used to always just be very much psychologically alone. Like, I would experience the world, and I would just have these, what felt like such important experiences of the world, and I would never be able to share them. And I think that's where a lot of art comes from, actually, because those experiences, we just want to share them. Those feelings, we really want to share them with people. We really feel this just desire that we can express our perceptions, point of view, feelings with other people. And that's what a lot of art is. And like a lot of people say, oh, this is such cool art, it's this shape, it's this colors, it's this design. Really, I love it. And they put it on their wall and everything, and it makes them feel something. They look at it, and they're able to think things and feel things. They get feelings and thoughts. Thoughts and feelings are really interwound. They're interconnected. And that is just the beautiful other half of the expression. It's like the complete expression if you really think about it, because the feeling is an expression and the receiving and the interpretation isn't. It is an expression, and then it might live on because that expression, that feeling and whatever, they might be communicated. It might be inspiring. It might make that person who's seen that art make their own art, do their own design. And then they have their influences, and their influences is this artist, this music, this writing, this poetry, this painting, this architectural design. And the weird thing that I really think about all the time is actually the subconscious, like what we don't really understand or perceive, but we know that it has an influence. Like one study said that when they took prisoners and put them into a pink room, there was less violence. They measured the violence of people, like the violent incidents of prisoners in a room that was just a bland, regular gray color or whatever color. And then they measured they put them in a pink room, and it actually reduced their violence. And so it's stuff like that. We think we're really smart and all this, and then we get stuff like that, and we're like, huh? So wait, how is, my environment influencing me? And it's hard to really say. I mean, we know stuff. There's people who have definitely written books on it, talking about habits and all this. And I agree with the people who say that who you surround yourself is important. I've never been able to really, like, this loneliness issue is tough. I've never really been able to surround myself with people that are good, that have those good vibes, that have everything kind of open and flowing. I've only ever really been able to do that a little bit, not ever to my liking. And so that's been part of the loneliness, I often think about people or life, really, but people, because people are a part of life, as like a ribbon of energy that is still extending and flowing. And this is just sort of a metaphor I like, but it's moving in and out with other ribbons of energy. And those ribbons are just people, events, trees, nature in general, animals, And when people say, oh, we're on the same wavelength, oh, we're vibing, oh, we're at, I'm resonating with what you're saying, or, things like that. I just think of that as these ribbons of energy swirling in and out with each other. And actually they advance each other. They help each other to move on, expand. And that's really the only way you can put it, is expand, because it's like, I was talking about this at the Bible study on Sunday. I think I said that really evil is only cupidity, or that's, I've heard it put that way, where cupidity is basically greed or lust, and not lust in the sense of like just lust over sex or uh, lust, like, there's a word, fornication, but lust as in wanting more of things, of everything, could include fornication. But I've heard it put that evil is cupidity. Cupidity is basically means that never feeling like you have enough. And so it's a grabbing and a pulling inward. And so I've heard that that is really what evil is. And love, on the other hand, is a giving. There's actually a great verse in the Bible, which I always forget it. I wish I could memorize it. I wish my brain would let me memorize things again. But it says basically like love is gentle, love is kind, love isn't forcing. And the opposite of that is really, fear is controlling, it's manipulative. Fear is, bad things are going to happen if this doesn't happen, so I have to do that thing. I'm going to be homeless. I have to have this amount of money. I'm going to be sad. I have to have a partner. I'm going to be unhappy and embarrassed. I have to have this career. I'm going to be unliked, unloved. I have to be better. I have to smile all the time. I have to have something interesting to say. I have to have something to give to somebody. I have to have X so I can get X. So really that's this kind of grasping. It's fear, but love is like, it's this expansive force. It's I love you. It's that feeling like, oh, this feels good. This is light. This is okay. I'm allowed to say how I feel. I'm allowed to not earn enough money. Things are going to be okay. I'm allowed to not know what to say that's interesting. I'm allowed to be myself. That is love, really. That's a loving thing. And it is just, it's so great. It's what we all want. Now, the sad thing, I think, in my life has been just the lack of love. We all need love. Like, I feel like love is just this requirement. And actually, I don't just feel that. I kind of know that to be true because it's in all the psychological studies. Come on. Like, so when, like, for me, feeling lonely and isolated, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's hard. And then what's the painful thing too is it feels like the only way I can get some love, the only way I can get some attention is by doing all these things which are not just normal and easy, and that's draining. That's very draining. And actually, I really don't like when I feel like the only way I can get attention is through being like other people, when I think that other people are not doing loving things. Like just complaining all the time. Like they seem really stressed out. They seem really, I don't know, just not chill, not relaxed, not passionate, or not just in a loving state. And so it's a fight. It feels like a fight, and it feels like an energetic drain for me a lot of the time. But anyway, I think there's a lot of love out there. I think you have to give love in order to receive love. That's kind of how love works. I'm really bad at this. I've been getting a little bit better because I've been saying I love you to people. It feels weird, but I've said it to like the men's group, the guys there. We were talking about the Bible verse, like it says, I've told you these commandments so that you may love one another. This is the thing. This is the thing about Jesus. This is the thing about the Bible. Jesus wants us to love one another. And yeah, so somehow that makes people really angry and upset and defensive. And somehow you don't feel a lot of the love from different Christians. At least I don't always. You know? But that's really what Jesus said all the time. And really, he was saying too about holy. Okay, what is holy? Holy means clean. And basically, like, sin is unclean. So unholy things are unclean. Sin is unholy. He doesn't want us to sin. Well, he wants us to be holy, which means he doesn't want us to sin, because sinning makes us unclean. And what brings us closer to God, to love, to pure goodness, is being clean. It's such a deep teaching. It's such an important teaching. And it's never really been emphasized to me properly. And no one's really talked about it. But like, in a way that's like more easy to understand, you know? It kind of just, it goes over my head a lot of the time. I've really had to look hard and search hard. And I did like a crap ton of mushrooms I guess it was just to feel that love from God. It screwed me up in other ways, you know, but it really didn't take away my spirit and my soul. It really strengthened that. But my main point is that love, this steadfast love from God, which in Scripture he promises us, and he makes a covenant to us about, and says that he'll never take away his steadfast love, and any who come to Jesus, he will never drive them away. This is just his promise to us, and that's why he wants us to be clean, so that we may be really. My roommate's just screaming upstairs. She's so shrill. But he wants us to be united with him and with the Father, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, to be united again. And if you think about it, it's like we don't really know anything about like where we came from before we were conscious. You know, we kind of know we're conscious, right? The fact that we can perceive things, we can see things. It's weird because consciousness is like a label for what our experience is. Like right now I see the cat. I feel, you know, mostly numb, but I feel like a love kind of like in my heart. Like a nice, kind of just a nice feeling in my heart. I feel, you know, my butt on the chair. I kind of hear my voice as I'm talking. And I experience these things, and these are like my present moment, right? But a long time ago, so we came up with the term consciousness. But a long time ago, consciousness is so weird. It's like breaks your head to think about it. But a long time ago, people didn't really know what consciousness was. Like the ancient Greeks didn't really have any understanding of what the brain did. And I think about this when I think about, because it was explained to me really well through like some podcasts and stuff, but I think about this, like, it's just a point that's never left, that our perceptions are really way different than the people that lived a long time ago. And I think that somehow, some way, a lot of people today think that we're kind of really smart compared to people that lived a long time ago, but we're not. And let me tell you kind of why. Because we still don't know the answers to these deep questions the same way that people back then didn't know. And really, I think what matters is not all our technology. It's really what matters is our spiritual depth and our maturity as people. There's along our 4 different ways that we can mature, but you could break them down a lot further, but like not just our physical, but also our mental maturity, our emotional maturity, and our spiritual maturity. Well, I think they used to have a lot higher spiritual maturity a long time ago, thousands of years ago. They used to have really deep connections with God, I think. They used to have really deep connections with each other, which I think that our connections with each other, like I was just talking about with the hookup culture, with the dating apps, with the kind of dating games and all that stuff, the lust, I don't think that's very good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure all that stuff existed. Apparently there's nothing new under the sun, right? I just think that, we're not as smart these day and age as we might think we are. Where a lot of people think that, there's no God and all this, but honestly, I think like there's a lot of reason and just spiritual reason to believe in God, but yeah, I don't know, I guess anyway, so I was feeling pretty lousy today. I meditated and that helped. I pretty much never feel that good. The only time I kind of feel good is when I meditate. Meditating helps me feel good. And most of the time I feel pretty bad. But meditating, I will actually feel kind of good, which is a really nice thing. Even when I'm in church, I don't necessarily, I do feel good, actually. I like church. But I don't know. It's just the loneliness that really kills. And I know we're in a loneliness epidemic. So a lot of people feel lonely. I think a lot of young people and a lot of, especially men, feel lonely. But I'm sure there's women out there that feel lonely. I think a lot of seniors feel lonely. But yeah, feeling lonely is really hard. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just struggling. Yeah. I always wonder, like, what the heck should I be doing? When I was a kid, I used to really like, I really used to be into random stuff. Like, to give you an example, I would just be amazed by things. Like, I would wonder about things. Like, I would wonder about where things came from, the history behind different things, what people's names were, who those people were, when did they live, what was going on then, what did they eat for dinner, did they live a whole life? They lived a whole life, huh? And now everything's so droll. Everything's so like, just has zero zest. It's almost all salt. It has like no enjoyment. I don't know. And I just always worry about what I'm going to do for my career. How am I going to make money? How am I going to find a girlfriend? These are the main two things. How am I going to make money? How am I going to find a girlfriend? I've made some money. You know, I've worked. I've made some money. I've done some stuff. I've done research. I've written papers. You know. I've built airplanes. I've done a ton of different jobs. I've cleaned sewers. I've washed dishes. I've delivered pizzas. I've been a janitor. I've been a cashier. I've done all these things, right? And I had a lot of energy back then. And now it's just, I don't know. I don't have nearly as much energy. I don't have nearly as much good feelings. You know? And I just kind of worry about safety and security, and I don't know, maybe that's not love, but I have a lot of fears, and I just feel really alone in them. And I feel so sad because I feel like I have potential. When I was a kid, I used to go freak out because I thought of how much potential I had. And I just wanted to maximize it. You know? Think about how good I can be at something if I started now. But I would think these thoughts when I was 15, 16, 13. Frick, I used to think that stuff when I was 9, 8. I remember the census came to our door and I got really mad at my mother because she said the 9-year-old doesn't understand the question. The census was asking a question and I wanted to answer so badly because I knew that in 80 years I could look at it. I was 9 years old. You know? I used to think about collecting things so that I could have it in a long time. Now I barely give a flying F about anything. Which is terrible. The only thing I really care about is trying to feel better, you know? But I feel like it's like I can't get anywhere because I don't feel better. You know, when your mental health, when your physical health, well, my physical health is good. When your emotional health, when it's really bad, like when you're suffering from an illness, a mental illness, it limits you so hardcore. It feels like, you know, it limits you so hardcore. you can't focus on other things, really. You can barely focus on other things. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. Right? And I just feel sick, and my dream is to feel better. My dream is to feel better. I pray about it all the time. I'm trying so many different things. I'm trying keto diet. I'm trying supplements. I bought like $500 worth of supplements. Isn't that crazy? I go running almost every day. 30 minutes cardio. I have tried five or six different antidepressants. I've tried like all these different things. I've tried like 3 stimulants. I'm on one now. I've tried like 3 different antipsychotics. I'm still on one a little bit. I've tried so many different therapists. I've taken a psychology degree myself. And I used to watch so many YouTube videos about self-improvement. I got sucked into the self-improvement hole. And I see it affects a lot of people, actually. But I really don't know what's going on with me, what's wrong with me. I really don't fully know. I know it's trauma related. I know that it's messed up my identity. I feel like my identity has really been messed with because I just feel this choked up triggeredness when anyone asks me like what I like to do, or like what was my family like, or my childhood like, or even when they talk about their family and stuff, because my childhood was awful and my family was really awful growing up. And I just don't have a knowledge of how to debrief healthily, I've never really been able to. And now I'm afraid to, because I feel like I'm afraid to attract people that are, in my opinion, and I think this is a flawed opinion, damaged too, that I need to take care of. Like if I start talking about how I'm damaged, and then they start talking about how they're damaged, then I'll feel like I need to take care of them and I'll feel drained again. But I don't think that's totally true, I don't think that's totally true. That'll happen. But yeah, I feel just lonely. Lonely. I really love doing stuff with people. Like I wish I could go on a road trip with somebody. I wish that, I had somebody who I could do things for, Or I wish I had like a friend, like a friend who I could learn something with, But yeah. Just kind of depressing, really, to talk like this, but it's the truth, so whatever. The truth can hurt. It's still the truth. Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the rest of today. I'm supposed to go back to work next week, but I think I'm gonna cancel and just quit. I can't really work that job. It was too hard. I think I'm gonna just leave this town. I tried it out here and it didn't work. But when I go back to the city I'm from, I know it's going to be a challenge there too. Because I'm bringing the challenge with me, because the challenge is really me. It's my mental health, it's my emotional health. So I'm trying to learn how to live with myself. It's really hard. It's really hard, yeah. It's really hard. Oh, this modern day and age is so hard. With the computers and stuff. I don't know. I always think about a future where I'd be happy. And it never works out that way. When I came here, because I came to a small town for work, I imagined a future where things were great. And it didn't really work out that way. I think we do that a lot, right? I think that being in the present moment really helps. Meditation really helps us to not do that. And just get really depressed. I always get depressed about the future and thinking about the future. I guess I'm just a depressed person, to be honest. I mean, it's been like that for so long. I just don't like admitting it. I got bullied so much. I got bullied like crazy. So what I learned was keep everything in. But I mean, the truth is I feel depressed a lot of the time, you know? And now I have this thing where I feel like nothing hardly makes sense mentally. And that's really tough too. And I have trouble learning things and comprehending things. I have huge trouble enjoying things. So is life gonna get better? I hope so. I hope so. I'm always trying to adjust it so that it'll feel better. And that's not necessarily adjusting it in comforting ways. Sometimes I adjust it so that I do harder things, like run or exercise, or you know. I think so many people are just doing amazing things and we barely get any appreciation. Like we're trying so hard. But yeah, anyway, I'm just really complaining a lot. So I guess I'll just end it there.